Now, we've kept up with college basketball all year, and most of what you've heard, including from here, is that the Big 12 and the SEC seem to have separated themselves from the other conferences, at least from a depth standpoint, in starting to ascend to the top of the college basketball pecking order. Well, I think so far in the NCAA tournament, it's looking a little bit like the SEC was fraudulent. Not saying it's easy. Nobody's saying it's an easy conference to go through. And it's not just that they've lost in the NCAA tournament, including now only having 2 teams left as we enter the Sweet 16, but it's how they lost. Mississippi State getting pushed around by Michigan State. South Carolina getting made uncomfortable and pushed around by Oregon. We thought physicality was going to be the separator. You look at Auburn getting upset by Yale. Florida losing a match to different guards when they had older ones like Clayton and Pullen and those guys. You go down the list. Tennessee did survive Texas, but they survived. Alabama did survive Grand Canyon, but they survived. But outside of that, let's look at the numbers of the other conferences. The Big East, 6-0, with only 3 teams in. The ACC, 8-1. The Big 12, 7-6. Another, I think, disappointment. Kansas was lucky to survive Samford. The Pac-12, 6-3. The Big 10, 6-4. And the SEC, when we're looking at major conferences, rounds out the end at 5-6. Maybe the SEC isn't where we thought they were from a tournament style of play. They've gotten beaten in very similar ways that they've played. Now, we'll see what happens with Tennessee and Alabama as we move down the stretch. They can't play each other in the national championship, but they can meet up in the Final Four. But there's still a long way to go. But at least to this point, it looks like the SEC may have been that girl with all that makeup on that looks totally different when she takes it off. It's just the truth. We all know what I'm talking about. All right, male and female, right? All of a sudden, what are they doing? Like hall pass? Like you gotta rein it in a little bit. Oh, maybe you weren't a 9.
No, that's why Blaine says go swimming on every first day.
It's not a bad strategy. It's not a bad strategy. But David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, y'all got a new coach. I know we're going to talk about that. My brother, former Western State Colorado wide receiver, Blaine Creighton. We're going to get into all this. We want your calls, 1-855-236-3228, after we get off with John Fanta. That's going to be fun. But David, the SEC. 2 teams left out of 8. There were 8 that started in here. And again, you kind of see what I'm saying with, the SEC's been kind of bullied, man. And then in clutch moments, haven't been able to step up. A&M, I want to make sure. I said A&M fought their ass off. That game against Houston, A&M showed up, beat Nebraska, ran into a buzzsaw there at Houston and still almost beat them. But outside of that, man, it's just been a disappointment.
That's why I said for the last few weeks, let's see how the tournament goes before we crown any one conference, because I saw the Big Ten do this just a couple seasons ago. The first season after the COVID cancellation, when we only had conference matchups, the Big Ten looked unstoppable. And then they overwhelmed extraordinarily in the NCAA tournament when the time came. So this is not a huge surprise, even though when we start talking about the way Auburn lost and the way Kentucky lost especially, it's a little bit disappointing. Ironically enough, Auburn is the last SEC team to make the Final Four in that 2019 season. But you look, Tennessee still looks strong. Alabama still looks strong. I think if you asked the SEC commissioner, if you went and asked Greg Sankey, would you rather have one team win the championship this year and all the rest of them lose in the first round, he would probably make that trade, considering the conference hasn't even had a team make the Final Four since 2019. But I do have to say something real quick, though. Just personally, I have to get this off my chest, because there is a salacious narrative taking root around the country right now regarding a David Cohn jinx. Okay, where if I pick your team, they lose, and so
I'm glad we're getting into this early.
Yeah, good. I'm glad we're doing this.
I bought into it. That's the thing. But then all of a sudden, I had an epiphany like Tony Perkis in heavyweights. It's not my fault. It's their fault. And here's the evidence. Let me show you why. I picked Michigan to win the football championship like Jake did before the season even started. Then they go 15-0. Something they've only done one time since my grandfather fought in World War II. Second up, I picked the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. They were underdogs in every single playoff game. I picked them to win. The Chiefs win. I adopted the Texas Rangers as my baseball team. They win the World Series. So now I'm sitting here thinking, wait, Tennessee fans coming at my head because they didn't win the basketball championship when I picked them a couple years ago. Y'all weren't doing that anyway. So y'all weren't winning before I moved to this state and picked y'all. And now Auburn. losing to Yale. Y'all lost to a team that plays in the same conference as Dartmouth.
So we lost to the blue-haired lesbian theory.
They would a team that would rather join a union than go to practice. If y'all can't beat Yale,
it's not about Auburn.
Don't blame me.
Let's not make this about Auburn. It's about you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
But you go first.
Here's what I do.
You go first.
Here's what I do.
We need to go and get.
It is a mistake that I will never make again.
Yeah.
And I try to tell you.
Yeah.
You did.
When it comes to the jinx, you never really jinx your own team. You're rooting for your own team, so it's almost impossible for you to jinx them. If Tennessee wins this year in basketball, you're cursed 100%. 100%.
But I had them going as far as Auburn. I had them going to the Final Four. I have Tennessee in the Final Four.
But last year you had them winning all last year, right? You picked Tennessee in basketball and baseball.
Baseball, they were the number one seed. They were the number
Exactly.
one seed in
Didn't make it out of
baseball.
the
We all
Supers.
picked them.
Exactly. I didn't
Make
pick
it out of
them.
the Supers.
Who'd you pick?
I picked LSU.
Okay. Well,
I mean, which isn't a terrible pick.
Congrats.
But if Tennessee wins it all day,
Congrats.
yeah, I mean, you're cursed 100%.
Here's where I'm at. If you're having to explain why you're not cursed, I feel like I sat here, and I'll say this during football season, David, and you know I love you. But every time we brought up Michigan winning, you're like, no, don't
true.
say that.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
true.
I begged you not to pick Auburn. I begged you. Blaine's over at my house. We're watching that game, and the whole time in the second half, I just see your face. It's like I'm like Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire everywhere I go.
To
I see
Yale?
his
Okay,
face.
we can't get past
No.
UConn in the Sweet
No.
16. I get it.
Yeah.
They're good.
David.
Yale?
Yeah, they get upset about it, Dave.
Yeah.
I am upset about it.
You
I
think
went
you're
out on a
upset about
limb
it?
for y'all.
I watched some kid who's telling us where he's going to invest our money hit fadeaway threes in guys' faces.
Yeah,
The
taxes
great
got
thing about
done.
March Madness is this. You can watch a kid named Josh who went to a liberal arts college ball on 4 dudes who are about to go play in the
Yeah,
NBA.
an Uber driver beat Kentucky.
That's true.
The
Like,
guy
if we're
from
gonna get into
Friends
that.
beat Kentucky.
Yeah,
Chandler from Friends
he
beat
did.
Kentucky.
That's just March Madness.
Then I watched
smart.
San Diego State strangle Yale to
Yeah,
death
just beat
for
Yale to
2
death.
halves. They couldn't make a shot.
Yeah. Polakaitis closing his eyes, kicking the ball in.
Go Pack, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
NC
meanwhile-
State, woohoo.
Who
Justin.
cares?
The double-digit
I'm
seed, I
sorry.
believe
Hey, I
in
can't wait
most.
to watch UConn kill everybody for the rest of the
Yeah,
tournament.
listen, if we're going to be honest, you know all those people all year that were like, hey, UConn's still just way better than everybody? They're right. Like, dude, UConn is beating people to...
So are we going to get the Kleeman-Edey matchup? Is that what we're going to get?
I don't know, man. I don't know. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna ask John Fanta about it. There's a ton we want to know from you as well. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Hope you joined us on the live stream for the first round of the college basketball tournament. Had a ton of fun. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn that notification bell on so you know when we drop content.